Thank you. The gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Garcia, who is also the Vice Chair of the Subcommittee on Diversity and Inclusion, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Ray, and thank you for your patience today as we come towards the end of this hearing. Let me just say that I was one city controller of Houston, and under me was the city auditor, so I've done a lot of audits, overseen a lot of audits, and this has got to be one of the most ridiculous, loosely goosey operation I've ever seen. I wouldn't be surprised if you come back and tell us you found money under somebody's mattress, because it seems like there was total lack of controls, total lack of transparency, total lack of any accountability. And it's much like an onion that every time you peel a layer, it gets a little smellier and uglier. So I know we need to stay tuned. I wanted to also go over a little quick timeline, following up on my colleagues' questions. And FTX International was founded before FTX US, correct?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
FTX International was put together before FTX US.
Yes.
So before FTX US, US customers didn't have a forum or a platform to participate in because, as I understand it, FTX International was for non-USA customers.
That's correct.
So do you happen to know how many FTX US customers there really is?
We don't have an accurate customer count. We do have a user number, which is about 2.7 million. But customers did have multiple accounts, and some of those accounts have zero balances.
So
we need to get to the bottom of
2.7
it.
million.
Right.
We were told that I saw some information that said that it was about, I think it was 2% of the total picture of FTX customers. Is that about it?
Yeah, I don't know how they're calculating that. I mean, on a relative basis, though, the U.S. number of U.S. users and the value at the petition date, is a relatively small compared to .com.
Well, I've been curious to find out, and I've asked this question of the White House Working Group and another number of people that have appeared before us just about this whole crypto space. Who is the consumer here? Who are the people being harmed? I'm not talking about hedge fund managers. I'm not talking about investors. I'm not talking about entities. How many real people are being hurt?
Well, we haven't, we don't have a breakdown by, say, institution versus individual. Clearly, there's a lot of individuals harmed by this, a lot of individual accounts. Crypto accounts are certainly a, something that, it's available to consumers. So I would expect the population would include a large amount of consumers.
So when you say that, are you telling me you have no consumer data, you just have account numbers right now?
We have account numbers. We can ultimately, figure out the names associated with those accounts. What we don't know, of course, necessarily is, what the identity necessarily is behind some of those account names.
So you don't have any information on their demographics or states? You can't tell me if I
Not
have
at-
any
not
from
at
my
my
district?
Yeah, not at my
You
fingertips.
can't tell Mr. Auchincloss if there's any from his district?
Not at my fingertips. We certainly can accumulate that and break that down.
Well, I would be really interested because obviously for many of us, it is our constituents that we want to make whole. Well, we have a concern for the entire crypto space and all of the people who participated in any of these trades on their platforms. We have a deeper concern, if you will, for our own constituents. And we need to make sure that we do make them whole. And I know in response to a previous question, you said you weren't sure when you'd be able to make everyone whole. Is that answer the same for the people for just the U.S., or is that also the same for the people in the FTX International?
It's same for all, for all the customers. I mean, obviously, the extent of the harm appears greater on the international side. So, we're hopeful, again, on the U.S. side that the dissipated assets are not significant, and that obviously would lead to a greater recovery and a sooner recovery. But it's a little bit premature to really nail that down today.
Well, thank you. And I when you do the demographics and the consumer data, Keep in mind that Morning Consult study showed that about a quarter of Black and Latino respondents own the cryptocurrencies. It's a quarter compared to 17% of white respondents. We need to make sure that when we talk about making everybody whole, we're talking about everybody.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you very much.